let's get into Leafs Bruins.
Yeah, let's get into Leafs Bruins.
Let's do it.
So the point I was going to make was that here you have like the Leafs Bruins series. And yeah, the Bruins are favorites. I mean, they just are. They've beat the Leafs, what, 6 times in a row? They beat us twice last week. There's the history. We have these demons in our brain. People would say the Bruins are better built for the playoffs, that the experience is there. So the Bruins are the favorite. But I don't hate the matchup. To me, yeah, you're playing a good team in the first round. They haven't been that good lately. And as we pointed out earlier, we've been better than them overall. So is it ideal? No. Is it even good? No. But what what team were we really going to get in the East that we thought was like an awesome matchup? No, it wasn't going to happen. I was just going to make the point about the Pacific is that really when you really truly look how it's going to play out, the positioning is going to be so important, right? And getting Vegas is an absolute nightmare, I think, for anyone, because you heard my rant on how how I see the Leafs lining up against the Bruins. Are they favorites? No. Do they have a chance? Yeah, they have a chance. If the Leafs had Vegas in the first round,
I'd be like, good night.
Yeah, good night. We're 5 games or something, especially just to start the playoffs. And who knows, later in the playoffs when there's injuries, stuff can happen. Oh, this team's got a hot goalie. But to start the playoffs, I'd be at like 80-20 Vegas. And I think maybe I'm even complimenting the Leafs. But the Boston one, they didn't do much either, to be fair. Neither did Florida. So like our division kind of stayed put. I'm okay with it. Whatever, man. If you didn't want it, you're afraid. Bring it on. Let's bring on the Bruins. Don't have a loser mentality. What I mean by that is don't think it's going to be don't think about how shit it's going to be if we lose. Think how amazing it's going to be if we win. And come on, if this Leafs team beats the Boston Bruins after everything they've been through, after everything they'd had to listen to, it'd be awesome. And what a catapult into the second round. And people could say that's our Stanley Cup, and then we get swept by Florida. That could also happen. But
kind of what happened last year.
Yeah, I came across a YouTube video, like on topic but off topic. It was Kipper and Bourne, and it was just like the YouTube was playing, and it came across the episode where they were previewing the Florida Leaf series, and they just finished off with, okay, who wins the series and how many? And Kipper went, I'll give Florida 1 game, Leafs in 5. I'm just like, oh my god.
We were riding high, man. They finally
slayed
their first round demons. They beat Tampa. We're like, giddy up. The run has begun. They get the wild card. Florida
they get the
Panthers.
wild card with home. We all looked at our path and thought, if they can get past Tampa, which we were favorites in that series, we had home ice and we had a much better regular season. But still, it's Tampa Bay. But if we do, it was kind of like, well, Boston having like with the best team ever. So we kind of thought, okay, good night there. And then Florida opens up for us. But
yeah,
why?
It was like
why get negative?
The red carpet was laid out. It was the same year that Toronto lost to Montreal in the first round, the year of the Canadian division. The same thing. The red carpet was laid out to the Cup final, and the Leafs shit themselves, as they tend to do in the playoffs. When I look at this matchup, what's crazy to me, first of all, is that Boston is still this good. I don't understand, because when you look at their roster on paper, you think about losing Bergeron, losing Krejci. Like, I was on the record earlier in the season, I thought that they could miss the playoffs, like going back to the preseason. I was like, man, you lose your top 2 centermen, basically the heart of the franchise, and Patrice Bergeron. Like, this team is not going to be a force to be reckoned with. And now they're just chugging along. They still have the same culture. They still play the same way. They still have the same goaltending. And I think that's where the difference is, because when you look at Boston's roster, their centermen, Pavel Zacha, Charlie Coyle, Morgan Geekie, like, that's where Toronto has the advantage. Are you kidding me? Austin Matthews, John Tavares, or Max Domi? Like, I mean, that's all I got to say, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like, Toronto should have the advantage at center ice.
But why can't we beat them?
And why the hell can't we beat this team? And now you could say, well, the Bruins, like, defensively, they play very tight. They're sound. I think it really comes down to the goaltending. Like, when you look at 5-on-5 save percentage, the Bruins this year are second in the league behind Winnipeg. a 933 save percentage at 5-on-5. Like that team with Swayman and Allmark, those guys are just not letting things go by them. When you look at the Leafs 5-on-5 save percentage at the time of recording, Toronto 19th in the NHL.
Awesome.
That's the difference right there. I know Samsonov's been playing well. Like Samsonov's numbers since he returned from his little like reset in the minors, he's been good, man. 12-3, 911 save percentage, 237 goals against.
Well, I was going to say 19th in the league, but I'd like to see cut out the first like 20 games. And that's, you can do that for a lot of teams, but just to your point of how it's been much better lately.
Fair. Listen, at this point, I don't know who the hell is going to be the game one starter for the Leafs. Could be Samsonov. It could be Wall. Wall has not looked that great, honestly, since he returned. So, listen, Boston definitely has the edge in net. You could probably say they have the edge on the blue line, but Toronto should be able to do damage offensively. But man, here is where I am concerned. It's time for a quick break for a St. Patrick's Day message from Manscaped. Don't just go chasing rainbows. Make your own pot of gold and groom your little leprechaun with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Trim that clover forest you have going on with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. This thing is outstanding. It gets the job done better than anything you've ever used down south. So join the millions of men worldwide who trust Manscaped, and you can use our exclusive promo code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Lepore, Manscaped never disappoints.
Anthony, Bruno, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. So for everybody out there, head to the pub, have some green beer, but take care of your balls. You do not want them looking like a leprechaun's beard. Head to manscaped.com. As Bruno said, the promo code is GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping.
Do the right thing, fellas. I say this all the time. Look good, feel good, and play good with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Use our exclusive code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. So go to manscaped.com and use code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping. You will not be disappointed. When I watched those two games last week against Boston, Austin Matthews did not get a lot going offensively. Neither did Mitch Marner. Neither did John Tavares and William Nylander. Like, there just wasn't a lot being generated offensively. And that's where I get scared about the Leafs, because when they face quality opponents, it just seems like the time and space is not there for those top guys. And listen, we watch them pile up points. And it's not like they're just piling up points against shitty teams. Okay, because listen, like Edmonton gets to do the same thing against San Jose and Anaheim, scoring goals at will against those teams. But when the Leafs play like Florida, Boston, even like Vegas, I know they beat Vegas 7-3 and then they lost 6-2 the next time they played them. But it just seems like the time and space is evaporated. And we've seen it in the playoffs as well. Last year, Matthews against Florida. Didn't matter what he tried to do. Couldn't get anything going offensively. William Nylander was the best offensive player for the Leafs, I'd say, just in the entire playoffs in general. So that's where I get scared, is that Boston just knows the recipe to keep Matthews and Marner to the outside, to limit chances overall, stay out of the penalty box as best they can. And that's the recipe to beat the Leafs in the playoffs. So that's where I'm concerned, Lepore. Like, just looking overall numbers, Leafs this year against Boston, 0-2-2, outscored 10-5 at 5-on-5. And the Leafs have a 4.76 shooting percentage at 5-on-5 against Boston this year. It's pretty terrifying, man. So yeah. The Bruins are going to be favorites. They're going to have home ice. And I'm just not going to feel great about that first round matchup, even though I think the Leafs have the advantage down the middle and up front. I feel like they're just going to have a tough time generating offense.
Yeah, I think with the Bruins, just talking about them generally, I try to watch a lot of the Bruins because they're a divisional opponent of the Leafs. And I don't think there's ever, I can't think of a better example in the league now anyway, of how what they do proves that save percentage is a team stat, because teams cannot get inside on them. Like you mentioned, the 5-on-5 numbers, they just keep you at bay. It's all perimeter. Allmark. I mean, what was Allmark in Buffalo? What
I mean,
was
he
he?
was good, but he wasn't this good.
No. Speaking of the goalies, do you buy the stuff that they were potentially shopping?
Yeah, where they had a deal in place to send him to trade him for Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Was that the deal?
I
Dubois?
believe that was the rumor that I saw.
I would have liked that. Like him.
Allmark for Pierre-Luc Dubois, and apparently he nixed the deal. I could be wrong. Maybe someone could correct us in the comments section, but that was the news that I saw, that it was Allmark for Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Allmark shut it down. Yeah, I mean, listen, they have two goalies who could be a starter on pretty much any team in the league.
Yeah, and I guess if you can get an asset, that helps you somewhere else, but it's a nice issue to have. That would have been fun as hell.
So now that I'm looking at this tweet from Frank Saravalli, fascinating day for NHL Bruins. Sounds like they had a deal on the table to move Linus Allmark to the LA Kings that didn't end up crossing the finish line. And to add on to that, it appears that Pierre-Luc Dubois was the guy who would have come back the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, they're saying that. Yeah, they're saying here Allmark. It was Allmark who was asked to waive his no trade, and Swayman's negotiating a deal.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Swayman's the goalie of the future there. So, I mean, it makes sense to try and deal Allmark, but now they're going to go into the playoffs with both guys. I mean, they did the same thing last year and they lost in the first round. And things could change. Maybe the Leafs just catch lightning in a bottle. But right now, I don't know, man. I need to wait for the betting lines to come out, but I would not feel great about taking the Leafs to win their first round series.
yeah, I mean, no, why would we?
And then, like, if they get through, Lepore, is there any chance that this team is beating Florida? A Florida team who looks fucking awesome. I mean, like, they, from the second half of last season until now, have been an absolute juggernaut. And I'm not going to feel great at all about that series if the Leafs get through Boston.
Yeah, but to me, it is what it is, and all it takes is a weird win in game one. And now you have a team on their heels. The playoffs, man. I think that this season more than ever, it's unpredictable. Usually, you see everyone kind of has the same bracket. Like I remember last year, everybody was to the point where it was annoying. Everybody picked Oilers and Bruins. Every show, every podcast, Oilers are going to play the Bruins in the Stanley Cup final. This year, there's options, man. There's options. Like I don't think it's that easy just to say Vegas and Florida.
No, there's
No.
there's definitely some stuff, some crazy stuff that could happen. Like I still think, like my prediction from I think it was last episode was Oilers, Panthers. Like I'll stick with that for the time being, but man, oh man, I could see any combination really.
Yeah.
Maybe except the Leafs in the Cup final.
No chance. No chance.